is not essentially what we're talking about. We're just talking about the politics around this particular bill. And now, just as we look into this particular issue, I'd like to get into our third story this morning on essentially what even former governors and former leaders are talking about this particular one, just before we come to Regalo and then talk about what other issues then are developing even within UDA party. Remember, the party for the president, in as regards this particular bill. Now, former Nairobi Governor Mike Mbuvi Sonko has called on Kenyans to exercise patience with the President William Ruto's led administration. Sonko has blamed the current economic hardship to the March 2018 handshake that saw the government divide and shift focus. Sonko has, however, insisted that the Kenya Kwanza government has an elaborate plan of reviving the country's dilapidated economy. Samia Dika has more details. Let's take a look at that story. Once we come back, then it's going to be on exactly whether it's true indeed that there's a way back for the Finance Bill 2023. Let's take a look.
With the cost of living skyrocketing day in, day out, former Nairobi County Governor Mike Mbuvi Sonko has expressed confidence in President William Ruto's regime, urging Kenyans to be patient as the head of state streamlines the economy that, according to Sonko, is likely to take a few more months to stabilize.
Mimi vile ninavyojua rais wetu ni rais anajali maslahi ya watu wa chini, maslahi ya wanyonge, maslahi ya mahasla. Acha tuone mambo yakistabilize kama ataendelea na ile agenda yake ya kujali maslahi ya wanyonge.
Highlighting his successful plans that saw the city reap greatly on tax collection during his leadership, Sonko explains how it worked against his political rivals.
Ilikuwa sisi tunachukua kwa siku zaidi ya milioni 150. Kwa mwaka alikuwa anachukua, kwa mwezi alikuwa anachukua zaidi ya bilioni 1.5. Lakini shida yangu kubwa ilikuwa ni kutangaza. Kwa sababu Nairobi iko na pesa. Na nikakataa hii pesa iende kwa mifuko ya wakora, ikawa naipeleka national government, central bank kule treasury. Basi watakuwa na huyu ni mjinga. Sisi tutafuta hii pesa huko national government, kumbe yeye anaitangaza hapa. So there were some weaknesses kidogo hapa na pale ambazo zilifanya watu wakaona Nairobi ni shimo la mawe, shimo la pesa.
Governor Sonko ignited a flashback alleging that the Azimio la Umoja chairman and the immediate former president Uhuru Kenyatta orchestrated his removal from office despite him supporting his presidential ambitions for 2 consecutive terms.
Watu walikuwa wanauziwa fia. Mimi najua mimi mwenyewe niliitwa gaidi, nikaitwa terrorist. Nikashikwa na chopa askari zaidi ya 50. Nikakiwa makesi kila mahali. Kama nimekuwa gaidi na nimemsaidia kuwa rais, nimemsaidia hiyo tamu ya kwanza kuwa rais, hii nataka kunitoa ndo nakuwa gaidi. So sisi tuachia Mungu, mambo mengine tunaona bado hasira, kuna hasira ambaye haiwezi isha. Kwa uongozi hasira ni mbaya, lakini ni mzuri pia kuwa mkweli.
After serving for only 3 years of his 5-year term, Nairobi's second governor and a man of the people, as he calls himself, Mike Mbuvi Sonko, was impeached by the Senate for allegations that has since left him on the corridors of justice. Sonko is, however, confident that he will win the battles despite the long process and jump back to his calling like he never left before.
Tunaendelea kutumia sheria, kupigana kikotini, si kivita. Kutumia sheria, Mwenyezi Mungu ni shahidi, anajua ile mambo ambayo ilikuwa tumewekewa. Shida ilikuwa tu ni kutimuliwa pale Nairobi County. Sasa kuna madhambi kubwa ambaye Sonko alikuwa amefanya.
While touching on the much controversial cases facing the DPP Nordin Haji, Sonko has hinted that justice will play its part.
Kimimi haonewi, lakini sitakuwa into details kwa sasa. Sisi tunamuogopa, mimi siogopagi mtu. Niko na mambo yangu, niko na kesi na kotini. Nitakuwa subjudice mimi kudiscuss mambo ambayo iko mahakama kwa media. Sina ubaya na yeye, namtakia mema. Ile nafasi rais amempea, kama atachaguliwa tunamwombea.
With lots of hope that all will work to his favor, Mike Mbuvi Sonko still maintains that he is the favorite politician, evident from his lavish lifestyle and support from his people. Samedika, Look Up TV, Nairobi.
That's it. That's the story. Isn't it? Well, just give the president time. And that's the former Nairobi governor, Mike Mbuvi Sonko. All right, here's the thing. Regalo, So you see, that's the going on. And I want you to peg your response on these three particular areas. By the way, there are other developments within the UDA party. The vice chair already is out saying, I do not think that whatever the president is doing right now is whatever we agreed, in as much as our campaigns were concerned. The overtaxation, this housing funds, we did not talk about it, so I do not essentially agree with him. I gotta be out. He's already left the party. But you see, other people weighing in on it right now. And even as we talk about that, the political side of that story again is that the Azimio coalition is meeting tomorrow just to come up with ways to stop the government from introducing this particular taxes in the Finance Bill 2023.
Yeah, thank you, Simba. I want to weigh in on Sonko.
Yes.
And I would wish the picture of Sonko taking tea is shown the other side also.
It's actually right there.
It is right there. I went to the school of, there's something I was taught in school called kinaya.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm saying something, but I'm laughing at you at the same time.
Yes.
Where is that picture?
It's actually coming through, yes?
That guy is telling you, President is thinking well of you.
Yeah.
Mahasla maisha itakuwa mzuri.
Yeah.
But he's there sitting on a golden chair, wearing a golden watch. The ambience is golden. And he's actually eating. When I was doing animal farm, there was nguruwe, and there was the workers.
Yeah.
One of them was called the Farasi. I've forgotten the name of the Farasi.
Yeah.
Farasi used to say, chochote ni kizuri, even if things were hard. And nguruwe will eat as it's talking to other wanyamas. If you remember the animal farm. Yeah. Now they were eating the best fruits. They used to call it tofa, the apple. Yeah. That's basically what Sonko is doing.
My God,
he's telling Kenyans, maisha itakuwa mzuri, support the president, he wishes you well, nini. Look at where he's talking from. I feel offended by that. Not that I'm jealous. I feel offended. Of course, I feel offended.
Is someone going to ask the question, what would you like him to say? I mean, he's got it.
He's got it. Yeah. But the person who is telling you to be patient is the person who is flaunting money. The person who is holding dollars, cachet of dollars like this. Talking ill of some Embu guy who, I don't know which guy is this, and showing us all the money. Is the guy telling us the president is thinking well of him.
Wrong person to seek views from at this particular time?
Yes. That is a wrong person to even go interview. Because he shows flamboyance when people are hurting.
Well, the Look Up TV editorial team, you've been put on the spot this morning. Why did you choose to interview Sonko on this story?
And Sonko...
They should have told him, let's go outside.
Yes. I mean, he's a young... You know,
is it
his personality...
He's saying he's a Kenyan, though.
Choleric personalities. There are people who like showing off. There are people, Kibaki was a very good personality, melancholic. People who have, but they come, they don't want to show off.
Should have we told him to stop even eating? He was taking tea, by the way.
Yeah, but you're talking to Kenyans who are hungry. Against a bill that is going to hurt their food still. That's how I'm going to Animal Farm.
I know that.
So bro.
It's the thing though, Mr.
So fish, you see, the nation is talking about fish prices going to rise by 50%, but that guy is eating.
Although Samia Dika is the reporter who was actually sent for this story. Let me just could you tell Sonko you can do this while eating? Oh, we gotta go outside. There's too much cold in this room.
Yeah.
Okay, let's jump into the story.
Going to
editorial department. Though you've been put on the spot. Okay, let's do this. Yes.
Yeah, you're talking to people who are walking while you're driving a Lamborghini, telling them, kaini tu hivyo hivyo,
Yeah.
and you're in a Lamborghini,
Yeah,
and they are walking.
Things are going to be fun.
Yes. Hey, it's funny. Secondly, you asked about the Azimio,
Yeah.
what they are thinking.
Yeah.
The thought of Azimio is very simple. We've talked with the government.
Yeah.
We've told them this cannot work. Honorable Raila Odinga had a face-off with Ruto during the burial of Dedan Kimathi's wife.
Yeah.
May her soul rest in peace. And he told the president, hey, bro, this is hard, and Kenyans are hurting, and mzigo ni mzito.
Yeah.
The donkey may not be able to carry it any longer. And nothing happened. So what happens? What options do opposition have? I'm in the opposition, but I'm not their spokesperson.
Yeah.
But I can give my thoughts. One, the civil society will definitely weigh in on this. And the civil society plus the employers. There's the Federation of Kenya Employers and the unions. We are going to come out and we're going to have a civil strife. So civil strife plus opposition strife may end up being one. And you may not understand, is it Raila maandamano ama sasa ni maandamano ya wafanyikazi? And when it reaches there, we are going to have a failed government because there will be no production, there will be nothing. Does he want us to go there? It was a very good example. The first example, his own deputy party leader walking out of the party. That's a big word. If Oparanya was to walk out of ODM because ODM is not doing this,
yes,
that is painful.
And he walked on the basis of the party politics.
And
now,
he said, what
yeah,
I do in UDA, I'm not paid.
Yes.
He who pays me are Kenyans because he's the chair of Union of Nurses.
Yes.
I'm forgetting the name. He's the chair of Union of Nurses. And you know what nurses are in this country. And they're going to be taxed. So healthcare is going to be affected.
Yes.
If he tells his nurses, we are going on strike, which hospital is going to open without a nurse?
Yes.
Are you getting this? If nurses go on strike, open the hospitals then. Which patients? Dialysis, HIV management. Can't we see what we are talking about?
Yes.
Because who offers dialysis? The nurse specialists who have done renal. Who offers HIV drugs? There are specialists, nurses who have done HIV management. Okay? Who takes care of cancer patients? I mean, we are talking about who takes care of casualty? Patients who are going in from outside. So even admission in hospitals is going to stop. If that is where we are going, we need to refocus.
Yes.
And I'm looking at it because the threat is already given. If you go on with this, then we are going to down our tools. And the first person to down his job as a deputy of UDA is a very serious stakeholder who is the chair of nurses,
yes,
in the whole country. That guy is already telling you, me already off so that I can do this.
Yes.
I'm not going to have a baggage of UDA on my back that will make me not work as competently. So what he's going to do? So if Panyako says we are on strike nurses, Panyako alone can stop this country. Yes. Panyako alone can. How? Nurses are on strike. Ambulances will take patients where? You can have paramedics carrying people. Their drivers take patients wherever you're taking. Who will receive them? So, Panyako will grind this country.
Yes.
So, if Panyako does it and other people do it, what will happen? Ruto, and I said this off camera, and Eric, you heard me say this. Ruto needs Raila. Than Raila needs Ruto.
In this particular issue.
Ruto needs to sit down with Raila and his team. And that is where they were to sit down during the negotiations.
Yes.
which stalled. They were to sit down and take care of this. The finance bill would have gone to that table. How do we reduce prices and not affect maendeleo? The Raila team, which is now I'm saying Ruto needs Raila, would have scrutinized the document and advised. We are taking number 1, tumemaliza. Number 2, tumemaliza. Number 3, tumemaliza. Ikifika, tunaikalia chini, tunai-scrutinize, tunamaliza. Where now we are going to reduce food prices. And it was on the table. You know, this was going to be easy because it was the government and the opposition sitting down to look at a document. Then that document will come out as a Kenyan document where the opposition will not say it is not, we don't own it. The government will not say we don't own it. So these issues of food prices and this issue, and that's why I'm reading the Nation, it's saying fish prices to rise by 50% on new tax, says importers. The food prices will not skyrocket. So Ruto, and I'm using this word, the pride of that government that says lazima ifanyike, refused to sit these people to scrutinize some of these things. And one of the things that made this thing fall is the food prices. One of the things zenye zilifanya hii toki kufe ni food prices. That is what made this thing fall. So now we are going to have maandamano coming back. Then they're going to push this thing to pass.
Yes.
Then we're going to have a struggling government for the next 4 years. They are not going to make it.
Pretty much.
If they can only sit with that document,
Yes.
to scrutinize on the article or the article that they said that they're going to handle the food prices, it would have been a government issue.
That's it. Pretty much. Now, yes, Mr. Mungai, here's the question that I want to put to you as well, even as we allow Mr. Bagalo to take a tiny breather, by the way. I did announce that he was under the weather this morning, so we could cut back to Mr. Mungai this morning. Do we, or does the Kenya Kwanza side need the opposition in this particular issue? We did see that that's exactly the route that Uhuru Kenyatta took when he wanted to implement his personal project in the country.
First and foremost, we did see several things have come up politically in the course of last week.
You can take a break. Yes.
In the course of last week, we saw the Kenya National Union of Nurses Secretary General, who also doubles up as the vice chair for UDA, resigned.
Yes.
And I think it is within his right when you feel that, you know, your interests are not catered for within a particular formation, then you have a right and actually an obligation to leave if your views are not in tandem with the views of the institution that you work with. That's one. But I think even as he resigns, and even as he seeks greener pastures elsewhere.
Would you say seeking greener pastures? This is exactly what he said. He said, I do not understand with the direction that this government is taking. I can't sit back and say that I'm comfortable with this particular direction. So for me, I resign from this party.
You know, the thing is, so long as you belong to a political formation, there are instances where you will disagree with the position of the government.
On the basis,
that's okay.
Would you say that the Kenya Kwanza government came into place by promising to alleviate some of the, actually majority of the problems of Kenyans, and one area they promised not to touch on heavily was on taxes. But now they look like a tax government, Mr. Mungai. Would you say that?
Not necessarily. You know, there is a big difference between a campaign rhetoric and when you settle in government. You see, it's the same way even when you're dating. You see, when you're dating, the relationship is always rosy. There are some things you're hiding. There are some things the other partner is hiding. And some of these things you can only discover in a proper marriage. And that's the same thing with elections. When you're campaigning and when you're on top of the vehicles and you're bashing the other team that is in government, some things look very rosy. But when you get into government, you realize that your decisions and the decisions that you're going to take actually affect all Kenyans. And I mean all Kenyans. Because when you're campaigning, you're campaigning to a certain audience,
Yes.
with the hope that that audience is the majority that will carry you to government. But when you're in government, you now have to look at the full spectrum, because your actions as a president reflect on every Kenyan. So having said that, there are decisions that you make in government that are uncomfortable. Do not imagine that even this housing fund is acceptable to all cabinet secretaries. It is not necessarily so.
Yes.
But there is something in government they call collective responsibility. And collective responsibility is, sometimes you could say, I do not agree with this, but since this is a decision of the majority, then as a government we carry out this decision. And I believe by Seth Panyako resigning, it is within his rights, but I feel sometimes it is better when you critique within, because then your contribution is valuable to the actors that are formulating whichever policy.
Yes.
So from that perspective, I think it was okay for him to resign. It is within his legal rights. Then secondly is the issue of opposition.
Yes. What picture does that paint on the party now, and especially on the president? That from within your own house, the people were opposed to this particular plan that you're implementing in the country. They disagree.
It just paints a picture that the UDA government is democratic, and that we do not oppose dissenting opinion, and every member has a right to take whichever actions they deem fit when they feel they are not comfortable. So it actually brings out even in opposition, when we have parties crossing over from opposition saying they do not agree with their views and crossing over to government. So in a democratic country, it is within the right of everyone to shift allegiance, to shift alliances. I mean, that's acceptable.
Is somebody going to ask you that you would like to think or imagine that when you're drumming up support for your biggest agenda as a government, that your party vice chair is walking in every step that you're taking with the leader of the party?
No, it's not necessarily so. As I said, you can have a dissenting opinion,
yes,
and it is usually better when it is done within the party.
Yes.
But there are instances where the kitchen is so hot,
yes,
and they would ordinarily say, if the kitchen, if it's getting hot in here, you have a duty and an obligation to leave. So sometimes the kitchen can get very hot, and you can find that you have addressed for the sake of that environment.
Yes.
And it is within your right to do that which forestalls any forthcoming trouble on your part.
Pretty much. So let's talk about what Regalo just spoke before we went on break, that indeed now it looks as if we are heading to a stalemate where you have civil groups telling you, we do not need this, you implement it, we go back to the streets. You have Okiumtara telling you, I've already prepared a petition, I'm going to hit court the moment this goes through. That right now would appear the moment that one, Dr. President William Ruto, would want to have Raila or the opposition by his side on this particular issue.
The president is on record, and he said one thing, that what he needs is a very strong opposition. And I believe that what the opposition has said tomorrow, yes, Azimio, they are going to hold the mother of all consultations. And I like their choice of words sometime, because it is either the mother of all rallies or the mother, the mother of all consultations. Yeah. So tomorrow is a big day for them, yes. I hear, because it's only Regalo who can tell us with intricate details.
Yes.
But as an outsider, I can only speak based on what the media has reported. And we look forward to their discussions. We look forward to their interventions.
Yes.
We look forward not only to their deliberations, but outcomes that are sort of patriotic, outcomes that will help this country move to the next level.
Yes.
And to answer your question whether the president needs the opposition leader right now, I agree, he needs him, but in his capacity as an opposition leader,
yes,
in his capacity to critique, in his capacity to put forward an opinion that is contrary, that might actually even be better. And we are not afraid as I would have said as government, but I realize I'm not government. But as a member of UDA, I would want to say that we welcome ideas that can help us move this country to the next level.
Pretty much. So once we come back again from this tiny breather, Mr. Mungai, I would like to paint for you a picture of what the Daily Nation has put towards this morning. The biggest issues that, actually the Standard this morning, the biggest issues that the president is facing currently. You would like to think that for a man who's facing his first document, his first budget, that is going to start the legacy of his administration, like to think that would have a few issues to think about. So number one, it's the former president Uhuru Kenyatta said, I'm not stepping out of politics, I'm back in it. And right now, he's full in opposition, sponsoring, supporting, and moving motions. Number three, the opposition could rally up its supporters to the streets again because the bipartisan negotiations, which would like to think that the president would be putting top of his priorities right now, seem to be collapsing. And then number three, the Azimio parliamentary meeting Tuesday, that is tomorrow, just to look into ways to stop the president from not just implementing the finance bill 2023 in the budget 2023-2024, but stop taxation, which seems to be the only way out if indeed the president is going to run this country. So you like to imagine then that this will be top of the agenda for the president, but it looks as if with just a couple days left then for us to have the final document for 2023-2024, there are other issues that are bedefiling the president, just like the Daily Nation is putting it this morning. So once we come back, Mr. Mungai and Ragalo are going to jump into this. What could be the ideal situation for him to focus on one now, or indeed the other four are going to affect the way that he's going to look into these issues? Just right now, quickly, before we come back from this break, I've got a couple of comments that are coming in. This is Maranga MJ, who's saying that you can't compare Singapore with this ragtag outfit. Can you compare corruption encounters in Kenya with that of Singapore? Alvin Wanyeri was saying this housing bill sounds like the next big Kenyan corruption scandal. We do have Shem who was saying that maybe he adds a salary, then taxes. And Lydia Mumbo was saying achukwe salary, sisi tuchukwe tax. That's exactly what it is this morning then. Once we come back, Eric Ragalo and Mungai are right here. What would be the ideal situation for President Dr. William Ruto once we come back?